What's up, guys? We are back. The red light is on. I'm Dave and Auken. I'm pumped today. One of the, to me, dark horses, one of the most underrated bare knuckle UFC fighters in the whole organization. 5-1, ex-champ, my man Francesco Ricchi. How you doing, my man?
Good, brother. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Doing good. Yeah, like when I looked up to talk to you, I didn't realize how many fights and how many good moments, key moments, nice fight opponents. Honestly, like just really just man to man, like you definitely one of the top guys in the whole bare knuckle FC. Sometimes you might not doesn't feel like you get the limelight that some of the other guys do, but definitely a great lineup. You went through some killers for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not as big of a talker as some of these other guys. Not to say that they can't fight, but I'm not the kind of guy to try to shoot somebody else's shine down, and go out and talk shit when somebody wins, for example, and jump the cage or do any of that kind of stuff. So I just kind of put the hard hat on and go to work. And I feel like in today's day and age and social media, viral moments and all that kind of stuff, it just doesn't get the exposure that you would think that it does. Fighting alone, I guess, is just not enough anymore.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hey, let's go down that alley. We open that door. Let's go through it a little bit. I do agree with what you're saying. There is definitely for sure merit to it. But as a hard hat guy myself, I do, I still got that belief, right? And hey, you champion, fought for a championship. You definitely got some key spots for sure. You definitely, at the end of the day, I always say this to other kind of fighter, like, hey, if you keep winning, they just can't hold you down forever. You know what I mean? If you just keep on racking up wins like you did, they just can't hold down a good man, a great fighter like yourself. So I do agree with what you're saying. Sometimes a lot of people do skip the line and stuff of that nature, but I do agree. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, of course. And at the same time, I'm also not the kind of guy to victimize myself and complain that somebody else got the shot before me. To be honest with you, I couldn't care less. I feel like if you had a tougher road to get to the top, then you enjoy it more while you're there. It's almost like your parents giving you $1 or you going out there and earning it. That's the difference. And with that being said, yeah, it is about winning. Unfortunately, I lost my last fight, which is wholeheartedly my fault. So now I just got to get back on the horse, and just put together a nice streak where they just say, you know what, fuck this, just give this guy the title. Otherwise, we're going to run out of a middleweight division. So that's my plan this year. I plan to be as busy as I can.
Okay.
2 years ago in 2021, I only fought once. I don't like that. I mean, I broke my hand, but it is what it is. I would have fought twice, but I had a last-minute opponent change, or 5 actual last-minute opponent changes, and then I ended up showing up to the venue with no opponent fight night. That was BKFC 22, and then last year I got to fight 3 times, regardless of the fact that I had ACL surgery in September. And actually tore my ACL in the training camp, in the June training camp. So this year, if all goes my way, I would fight once a month. Who knows if that's going to happen, but I would love to be able to fight at the very least 5-6 times.
Okay. I love hearing that. I'm literally, one of my questions for you is that been through a lot. You've been through a lot injury-wise and body-wise. How are you right now? Early 2023, we're about to get into spring. The weather's beautiful here. I'm a Florida guy. I know you're a lot of South Florida yourself. How is the body feeling right now for you, my man?
My body feels great. I actually just got back from skiing. I went with a couple of friends to Park City a couple of days ago, so I feel great. Today I got some tough rounds to get in the bag, and next 2 weeks, if nothing happens, I'll be 100% going into this fight. So I plan to stay healthy. I plan to stay in the gym, which is something that I don't normally do. It's not because I don't want to train. I actually love training. I just don't feel like I don't have the opportunity to train as much as some of these other guys that only train. I have to go to work, bring home some cash, and then get to train after all that. So this year, what I'm going to try to do is not only train when I have a fight. Even if I can't afford to, I want to stay in the gym year round, just in case there's a last-minute opponent change. Like, say, for example, the fight after my fight, or the week after my fight, there's a fight card in Virginia. If somebody pulls out last minute, like, hey, we need somebody to step up, I'll definitely take that fight. I just want to be in the gym and be ready so that if you do get that call, you don't turn it down because you haven't had enough rounds or you haven't had enough, road work under your belt for you to take a fight and you're not in shape. I just want to try to be in shape year round, just in case anything happens. I can take last minute fights, because bare knuckle really only schedules me to fight when it's down here in South Florida because of the ticket sales and whatnot.
Right.
So I want to try to also be available in case somebody pulls out last minute and I get a chance to step up. I wanted to step up in case somebody pulled out of the whole Knucklemania card, but we'll see. Maybe there's going to be another event coming up soon where I never want something to happen. Like, I don't want somebody to pull out.
Of course.
That's not the goal, but God forbid, if something like that happened, of course, that leaves an opportunity. And at the same time, and I've said this many times before, I'm never the kind of guy to go on Instagram and say, hey, this guy doesn't want to fight me. This guy's scared of me. I couldn't give a shit. Before me and Lombard were cool, before, you know, a lot of different things, instead of reaching out and saying, hey, you know, Phil Baroni pulled out of the fight, fight me, you're afraid to fight me, yada, yada, yada. I just phoned Nate Shook and I said, hey, Nate, if you guys need a dance partner, I'm more than willing to take this fight to save the card. You know, that's what I always do. And then maybe they say yes, maybe they say no, but I'm definitely going to reach out to the matchmaker instead of going online and trying to, you know, shoot people down. I feel like sometimes these fighters get 50, 60 call outs. It's like, hey, you're even if you take one of these fights, you're going to be afraid of the other 59 fighters that you quote unquote duck. So it's
right.
almost comical. So I just try to shut up, you know, phone the matchmaker, maybe even Dave Feldman if I had to, and try to get one of these fights. And then if I don't get the fight, then it is what it is. Now I'm working with a manager, so hopefully you can keep me busy enough.
For sure. Talking about busy, my man, March 17th, Bare Knuckle FC38, Del Rey, around the corner. Definitely, like you said, you already mentioned Virginia on the 24th. I love that about you. On the 17th, it is in South Florida again. You kind of just mentioned that. Are you pro? Like, hey, hell yeah, I love fighting down here. You've done super well down there. You've kind of made a big, huge name for yourself down there in South Florida. Or are you one of these guys like, hell yeah, like, man, there's a show in Denver coming up. There's a Virginia coming up. They've been doing a lot. And I do want to get into that in a little bit with Bare Knuckle and their momentum. It seems like they're throwing up cards like crazy right now. But just real quick, where are you at on fighting in South Florida and fighting all over the country, not even the world soon?
Yeah, I mean, I fight anywhere. Of course, I like fighting in South Florida because that is where all my friends are. So right after you fight, you get to see everybody instead of having to, you know, pick up the phone 50 million times from people calling you, congratulating you. So I would rather fight in our hometown, but I couldn't care less. I would fight in somebody else's hometown. I'm pretty sure my plan right now, obviously, is to get that belt back. It's really fucking lonely sleeping without it. So if I had to fight Dave in his backyard in Tampa, which is only fair because he came to mind to get the belt, I would have to go on enemy territory. I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter to me where we fight. The only place that I would rather fight, I guess, other than my hometown or other than South Florida, would be my actual hometown, which is Rome. But that's in the future. You know, there's a lot of road work to get to that point. But it doesn't matter to me. I would take a fight in Denver. I would fight a local hometown guy in his backyard. It is what it is. You know, money talks. We're prize fighters. You know, I'm not sitting here trying to remodel a house a certain way. I'm trying to get paid to, you know, execute. So.
Absolutely, my man. Well, that's Bare Knuckle FC38. I do want to rewind a couple weeks. I feel like Bare Knuckles had two tremendous weekends in a row. 2 weekends ago, Knuckle Mania 3, Albuquerque, New Mexico. The whole card was insane. A main event was crazy. I would assume you definitely had your eyes on it. I know the Hunt and yourself, your names, was kind of maybe going back and forth. What did you think of both man's performances, and what did you think of Hunt's retain of the championship?
Man, I think I watched that fight more times than I've watched my own fights.
Okay.
I think that card was actually one of the best fight cards I've ever seen. Boxing, MMA, UFC, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I texted Dave the next morning, Feldman, and I'm like, bro, like, hats off, dude. Like, that was definitely one of the best events. I mean, from the start of the night, from the very first fights, I was watching at Yuli's house, and that was insane. And then I have no ties to Richmond. I don't really give a shit. Me and him were slated to fight, but we're not friends. We haven't trained together. I don't even think we follow each other. But that had to be a bitter pill to swallow. I had to reach out to him after. In my opinion, as I texted him, I thought that he was winning the fight. I thought that he was shown that he was definitely the better fighter. I mean, keep in mind he had a lot of things against him. He had he had a big uphill battle to win that fight, and he went in there and was showing exactly what he was doing, and then he got caught. I mean, it's not a lucky punch. There's no such thing as a lucky punch. Lorenzo did what he had to do, and props to him because every time he came in, he got buzzsawed. You know, every time he came in, he got Richmond made him pay for lunging in recklessly. And normally what happens is now your body registers a response, and it's like, shit, as soon as I put my foot on the gas, it hurts. So let me not put my foot on the gas, and people tend to shut up. And Lorenzo said, fuck that. As soon as he was back on his feet, I don't even think he had his wits about him. He just said, screw it, and like fired the right shot at the right time. It was a hell of a fight. One of the best rounds in BKFC, period. Like, fuck my fights. I'm just saying in general. I mean, I give credit where it's due. That was a great fight. I shot out Richmond, or I sent him a DM. I'm like, hey, man, sucks. I feel sorry for you, you know. Not because I wanted Hunt to win or wanted Richmond to win. I don't care. It's just I know how much goes behind doing something like that.
Right.
You know, from my own experience on how much it sucks after you put in that much time and then lose. But I just feel like he had it in the bag, and it was just it was a split second. You know, it really is a game of inches, and that shows you why. So it was a great event. Definitely a great event.
It was. And like you said, a crazy moment, crazy round, crazy finish. Absolutely bananas there for Knucklemania 3. You just mentioned my guy. So definitely shout him out real quick. Uli Diaz, my commentating part. We did Game Bread Boxing, I think 2-3 months, maybe more than that, 4 or 5 months ago. UFC Fight Pass. Him and I were on the commentary booth. Dude, great guy. Love that guy. Can't wait to do some more with him in the future. Let's rewind last week. They went to New Orleans. That's what I mean. Another city they really opened up. I heard the fans were crazy there. Hometown guy, Alan Belcher, heavyweight championship. He wins it over Arnold Adams, who's to me a little bit like yourself. Like he's been in bare knuckle a long time. A lot of great wins. A really good lineup like yourself. Hunt's got a lot of wins. Yourself. What did you think of Alan Belcher winning the heavyweight championship? That's a big name.
No, I think I don't want to say similar to like the Knucklemania fight, but I think it was a similar situation. I mean, with the differences that the champion was the one that was winning the fight. I think he was winning hands down. A lot of people are blaming
the ref.
Yeah, damn it. I can't remember his damn name. He did my fights, Andy Glenn, Andrew Glenn.
Okay.
A lot of people are blaming him, but Andrew Glenn had to stop for a couple seconds and like tell Adams to go to the other side of the ring, which the referees always tell you whenever there's a knockdown.
Right.
I feel like if Adams had went to the other side of the ring originally and wasn't almost like partying too early, he would have won that fight because it ended up being a 14-second count. But that's not the referee's fault. The referee gives you the instruction to go to the other side of the ring. And at the same time, I understand where Adams is pissed off because he's like, shit, I had that fight in the bag. I get it. But like I said, it's a game of inches, and I feel like Belcher did what he was supposed to do. You know, he recouped, he stayed on game plan, and then he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And you can't knock that guy for winning. And at the same time, like, you know, everybody's like sitting there saying rematch, rematch, rematch. Do you do a rematch or do you end up giving a title fight to somebody else that's in the wings? Who knows? Because it was just so close. You know, it could have went either way.
And let's just be honest, right? We're all men here, and Belcher was kind of in his hometown. So if the man gets an extra second, right, like that's life. You know what I mean? Like in strike zones or in football, like there's always calls that can go either way. You know, I know what Adams is saying. I get it too. And I literally watched it live, and I thought it was a tad long of a count. But then, like, you got to give all the credit in the world for Belcher to get up at the very end and then do what he did to get the win. So, like what we're saying, but like, yeah, like I love that you said that. If Adams right away gets that knocked out and runs to the other side, he's probably still the champion. He really is. It's wild to say that, but he probably is. But that's life. Like you said, a game of inches, my man.
And on top of that, I think that this has to go into play. I think that the 10 count was made so that you can give them a better fight. You give them a chance to recuperate, but at the same time, imagine a fight that has 3 or 4 or 5 10 counts. That fight goes on rounds and rounds and rounds, whereas if you don't have a 10 count, the fight's over right away. People were kind of cheated out of another couple minutes of glory of seeing a great fight between two warriors. Now, I think that a big part of the 10 count is that if the guy gets up and you see in his eyes that he wants to get it back, that he wants to keep fighting, that his whole demeanor is, hey, I need to go out there and I need to get this one back. He's in the fight. You let him fight. I'm not saying it doesn't matter if you go a little bit longer because rules are rules, and I understand that. But I think that a referee is going to be a little bit more lenient to letting you continue the fight, as opposed to you staying down, not even looking at the ref, your demeanor almost being like flabby, compared to somebody that just gets up and they're like, fuck, I really want to fight. You know, I had the same situation in one of my fights, and I got up and I was like, I want to fucking go. I was on shaky legs, but I definitely wanted to keep going forward. Yeah. The referee didn't have an extended count, but at 8 he stopped. He asked me a couple questions, and the count essentially went a little bit longer than people thought that it would. But it's not because he counted past 10 or it took him longer than 10 seconds to count. It's because then he makes an assessment and goes, hey, can this fighter continue? Can he not continue? That's why you see a lot of times fighters get up, and then when the referee waves it off, sometimes they go, oh, shit, what the hell happened? But, of course, it's after the fight's already waved off where it's easy for you to not look like you were defeated or were quitting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Hey, I love talking with you. This is great stuff for sure. Got some fan questions coming up. We posted it on our Fight Bananas official IG story, so we'll get into that in a second. But this is a fun little topic we always talk about here at Fight Bananas. We just talked, a couple names, you know, Adams, Hunt. Hey, don't be shy if you think yourself on this. We love asking this bare knuckle FC Mount Rushmore question. There's been around 50 events, 55 events for the history. Some high-end fighters, male and female. Ricchi, I would love your take. Who is your 4 Mount Rushmore? 4 fighters in the bare knuckle FC history, nothing outside of it. You know, a name, if they came from the UFC, I don't care about the stuff outside. I'm just talking about bare knuckle FC. Who's the 4 best? Who's your Mount Rushmore, my man?
I think number 1 is Palomino.
Yeah. Okay.
He's my boy, obviously, but I mean, the guy doesn't skip a beat. He always makes weight. He always shows up on time. He always fights. He doesn't even show a kink in his armor. He hasn't been. I don't think he's been dropped once in his entire time in BKFC.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's insane. You know, I mean, he's 8-0 or 7-0. He's got a shit ton of fights. Without a doubt, my number 1 is Palomino.
Okay.
Number 2 is a good friend of mine, Cuban assassin Gustavo Trujillo. I mean,
yeah,
4-0 with 4 first-round knockouts. Not to mention the fact a win over the, I guess, number 2 pound for pound, which is Lorenzo Hunt. I like watching Hunt fight, and this is not knocking him at all, but he's not in my Mount Rushmore just because I'm not a fan of the antics, and the same thing was the weight. You know, people are like, oh, he defended his 185-pound title, but he only made 185 once, which was his last fight. Again, not knocking him because he's always shown me respect. I've always shown him respect, and I'm a fan. I like watching him fight. Maybe in the future I can get a fight with him one day, but that's the only reason why he's not in my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
And then apart from Palomino and Cuban Assassin, damn. I don't know, man. I like watching Caleb Harris fight. I'm a big fan of
monster. You got Caleb in there?
Caleb's in there.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, probably one of the fighters that got me into it originally was Jason Knight. I definitely like.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I like that one.
I'm sorry, I forgot one. Chris Lieben. I'm sorry,
Chris Lieben?
one of those guys out. Chris Lieben, he's definitely in there.
Okay.
Definitely Chris Lieben.
Okay. Yeah, no, Chris Lieben. Yeah, that's a good list. That's a real good list. We Christine Fiera makes a lot of lists. She's just been an absolute monster on the female side. But I love your number 1. To me, I've talked to him multiple times. Just what he's done, of course, outside, but inside the that circle, Palomino is just a monster. Like, people don't understand how quick, how powerful, how great of a chin, his footwork, like little details that probably you and I notice, probably the casual doesn't. His footwork's on point. His jabs are always on point. Palomino's a monster, absolute monster.
I think he's made for bare knuckle.
For sure, for sure. All right, let's get into these fan questions. We had a couple of them. I'm going to do 4 of them right here, 4 of them that I think are fun and good ones. First one, what's your go-to meal after weigh-ins? After you weigh in, what's your go-to meal?
Pizza.
I love that.
I crush some pizza after weigh-ins because I stay away from carbohydrates for almost a week. I mean, when I'm fighting at 75, I cut a decent amount of weight. Not always, but like my last fight, I definitely cut a lot of weight. So pizza is definitely my go-to. I try to carb up as quickly as I can.
For sure. Love that. What's your thoughts on Mike Perry?
I wonder what fan asked that question. To be honest with you, I like Perry as a fighter. I like watching him fight. Again, I'm not a fan of the antics. I have personal history with Perry. I think that he's a colossal bitch. I understand that he's a fighter. He fights this person. He fights that person. I know some personal shit about him that I'm not enough of a bitch to disclose, especially not on live. But I think that Perry has such a problem with me. He hates me so much. He despises me for reasons that I've been explained time and time again. I think mainly because of his fat-ass diabetic manager. But Perry despises me so badly. He finds himself in the same weight class. He finds himself calling me out. I obviously asked for that fight over and over again. I also had a shiny title to offer him. He's been offered that fight numerous times and then gets on the mic and lies and says that he was never offered to fight me. So I think that Perry's a bitch, but at the same time, I do watch Perry's fights because I got respect for everybody that steps in there, and I have respect for him as a fighter. But at the same time, as a person, I think that he's a bitch. I think that he would rather take a fight that maybe the public views as even tougher than myself for him, for his style, just because he can't swallow the pill of losing me. God forbid if he would risk losing to a guy like myself, I don't think he'd ever be able to live that down. So those are my thoughts on Perry. But do I respect him? I respect every fighter.
Yeah, for sure. Understand. What's your go-to? What's your favorite show that you watch on TV or a streaming service?
Family Guy.
Family Guy. Okay. All right. We can deal with that.
Like the majority of what I watch is actually YouTube. I don't watch like live TV, and I always try to educate myself on something. So I love Roman history. I love history in general. I always watch, whether it be the anatomy of a nuclear bomb, or I'll try to watch World War II documentary. I try to always read up and always learn about something. And even if something that I see in public, I'm like, oh damn, how does a percussion hammer work? On the pneumatic hammers that are drilling levees. All that kind of stuff. I just sit there and I'll try to even make a list. I have a notes app on my phone where I make a list of all the stuff that I wonder, how does it work? The engineering behind something. And I'll always, even going to sleep at night, I'll fall asleep watching YouTube, looking up a documentary on Alexander the Great or Achilles or something along those lines. I always try to learn.
Okay. I like that. This is a good question because I don't know. I hope maybe you'll surprise people on this one. They ask you, what's your personal favorite bare knuckle FC fight of yourself? What's the one that you watch the most, or what's the one you're most proud of?
Damn, it'd be a tie, I guess. Proud because of the amount of respect I have for Yuli, probably that fight, because I tore my ACL like 3 weeks before that fight, and everybody, including my own team and my coach, told me pull out of this fight because Yuli hits hard as shit. So that's definitely not a person that you want to risk.
Right.
Not being mobile for, like not being able to get on your wheels. So probably that one because I knew what was up against, and I feel like I always, whenever the cards are against me is when I perform more. Whenever I'm supposed to be the underdog is when I outperform. So probably that one, but also I was in a really shitty situation with the Boswick fight. When I fought him, there was a lot of shit going on, including staff. Just, not to make excuses for winning a fight by all means, but knowing what I'm up against, one of those two fights definitely. And also being dropped in the first round, and then I get back to the corner, and I saw the look of concern on my corner's face, and they're panicking because they're like, fuck, this is the first actual opponent, tough opponent, vet.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in 30 MMA fights. He fought for Cage Warriors. He fought some big names too. So that was the big step up in competition. My teammates, my cornerman, Marcos, one of my main training partners, they were worried because they're like, fuck, how's this going to play out? You've dusted the people that you fought before, even though I had a little bit of trouble with Noah Cutter, but this is a big step up in competition. And he was training his ass off. And he was training with a friend of mine that was watching me spar plenty of freaking time. So there were a lot of cards against me, but like every fight, I just go in there and I'm like, I'm going to fight as hard as I can. There's really nothing you could do at this point. All the work's been done. So just get in there and fight. So definitely one of those two fights.
Love it, my man. I love it. I cannot wait. Bare Knuckle FC 38, March 17th. My guy, we went 22 minutes and we didn't mention, I'm proud of myself. We didn't mention the Noah Cutter. We didn't mention that. You're probably tired of talking it through. I watched a couple of your past interviews. Every guy goes to that right away. So we stayed away from it for 23 minutes. I'm proud of us, my man. We did it.
Me too. I agree.
Awesome, brother. No, it was great talking to you. Hopefully we can do this again. Sure. It's crazy. Our paths have never really crossed. I'm a fan of yours. Love your work inside that circle.
Thank you.
March 17th, Bare Knuckle FC 38, Del Rey. My guy, Francesco Ricchi, back in the business. My man, appreciate your time. Talk to you soon, all right?
You got it, my brother. Thank you for having me on.
All right, brother. Thank you.